pastors need the most prayer? There's an influence and a power that comes with it that also comes with extreme temptation.
Oh yeah, people expect you to be Mr. Fix-It, you are everybody's solution. The African pastor is a legend. He's a business consultant, financial management planner, housing developer, he's a doctor, he's everything that he did not train for. And you're expected to do it. Look, I cannot deliver a baby. I need a gynecologist. I can't tell the woman I bind the devil and loose the baby to come out. We may have a bigger problem. In 38 years, I've never taken a monthly salary in our church. Never once. So how do I live? I think I've seen quite a lot. There are times when you really get to both sympathize and empathize with people who cannot handle issues and they get into addiction. And sometimes maybe you understand why people get into suicide too.
Pastor Francis Forbes is the founder and senior pastor of Abiding Word Ministries in the Gambia. He's a faith leader with a background in biochemistry and long-standing experience in public teaching through his television program, Discovering Truth. Through his ministry, he has engaged issues around moral development, community well-being, and recovery support within African societies. On this episode of Beyond Addiction podcast, he explores addiction, the African workforce, and the often unseen costs that are rarely accounted for. Welcome once again to Beyond Addiction podcast. As usual, we're here to speak on the issues regarding substance abuse for this season specifically. And my name is Amadin Ogbewe, as always. So we're joined today by Pastor Francis Forbes. He's here to do justice to a special aspect of this issue, which is the intersection of faith and the path beyond recovery. As always, we're also joined here by my co-host, Dr. Omeiza of Vigada. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much. All right, sir. Hello, everybody.
Thank you. So before we delve into the program, I should say congratulations on 30 years on air on your very popular telecast. Discovering Truth. I watched quite a number of them in preparation for this, so be ready if I reference sermons from 11 or 4 years ago. So let's start from the beginning. Some persons might not be aware that you have a background in biochemistry and you're being a religious leader, a popular one across the world for 3 decades running. So when we talk about addiction, how do you view it, bringing those two aspects of your life together? Is it a purely chemical problem, a spiritual one, or a blend?
Thank you very much, and hello, everybody. And I'm glad to be at this lovely studio.
Thank you, sir.
Amadin, I think it's a blend of both, and I can take it from either angle. So let me take it from the spiritual angle. Maybe my position would be that any form of depravity we see in humanity is because of a spiritual bankruptcy. And so you talk about corruption, you talk about the ills of society. We don't just solve them from what we see. We have to go back to why something happened that brought them. In other words, you go to the root and not just the strength. So, but again, I think that there is both. And the answer can come from anywhere: family, societal expectation, governance issues, religious issues, of course, and frustrations. I remember once when my daughter was in university in Canada and her tuition fees were 25,000 Canadian dollars a year. I didn't have that kind of money. And we did what we could, and my late wife had passed. And I was preaching in America, and every time I preached, whatever honorarium I had, I took out my tithe and obligation and Western Union it to her. And at a point in time, I told her, I think I understand why people drink alcohol. You can get very frustration. So I don't feel there is one size fits all solution. So I'll take it both ways. But I will pivot more on the fact that if there is a gap in the spiritual upbringing, it will definitely manifest there. But again, as I said, we'll get to the point maybe in the discussion where sometimes the spiritual overload leads. I am a pastor. I've pastored for 38 years. I've been on TV for 30 years. And I think I've seen quite a lot. And there are times when you really get to both sympathize and empathize with people who cannot handle issues and they get into addiction. And sometimes maybe you understand why people get into suicide too, or at least the thoughts. And so, I'll say both.
Yeah, but for sure, you're saying there is a religious aspect because there are people who argue that, Dr. Hope is here, so he could explain what happens in the brain.
Yes.
This is chemical. Yeah. And so sometimes there's a need to divest and say, don't bring religion into this. It's just chemical.
No. Again, back to my... Okay, I come from a country that's 90% Muslim populated. So we are minority. And to build the building we have, to be on TV for 38 years, like any other pastor, I've gone through what people gone through. I mean, death of all kinds. Women who died in childbirth, children who came out and they died later, children who lived on their mothers, divorces, disappeared children. I have a member of my church till today. They can't find the son in America. He's probably in his 50s. And how do you break the news of tragedy? How do you face betrayal? It's all church. I am maybe, let's say, and this is hypothetical, not really, but let's say I'm the senior pastor and Dr. Hope is the associate pastor. And you are, let's say, the next. Obviously, our three wives, our wives are friends. Whenever there is a problem in the church that maybe makes you leave, or Dr. Hope leaves, suddenly our families become enemies. The children are not friends anymore. And sometimes you ask yourself, is it worth it? If you're a pastor who operates with credibility, and I don't know whether this is credibility, but I'm always proud to say that in 38 years, I've never taken a monthly salary in our church. Never once. So how do I live? And sometimes you wonder, was that a good covenant decision? Because, I need this money, I need to go on holiday, and other people have this and you don't have that. And sometimes you are just frustrated. And people expect you to be Mr. Fix-It. You are everybody's solution. The African pastor is a legend. He's a business consultant, financial management planner, housing developer. He's a doctor. He's everything that he did not train for. And you're expected to do it. Whenever in the few times in our lives that maybe a church member passes on. I remember the first funeral I officiated, I went home and slept and woke up as if you poured a bucket of water on my side of the bed. I was sweating. I had not seen this kind of thing before, burying a little child. And you get frustrated. So thoughts begin to go through your mind. I mean, you start hearing things, you shouldn't have done this. It's your turn next and all that. So it happens to us all. And some of us, maybe we have methods out of it. So you read a book, take your wife for a walk or watch a movie, watch documentaries. There are some people that start drinking. There are some people that do the unthinkable because they want out.
Yes.
They want out because between now and next Sunday, I'm going to have to show up and be Tarzan.
But I just to add a comment, I think Dr. Hope wants to come in here. He reminds me of a comment my boss, the former boss once made. He said that he feels pastors need the most prayer.
Yeah.
And he said that there's an influence and a power that comes with it that also comes with extreme temptation.
Oh, yeah.
So what you just said, being the surveyor, being the advisor, being the father, and that being said, there have been instances, because this was going to come up later in conversation, but now you brought it up. There have been instances of religious leaders, people in the body, succumbing to addiction within the body. And it's at the end of the day, it's as though, oh, wait, didn't you have God? Why did you resort to the bottle? Why did you resort to the drug?
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, Pastor, I've been, listening with so much, excitement and at the same time, so much concern.
Yes, sir.
For the people who we refer to as the men of God or women of God.
Right.
I mean, just like you said, we all expect pastors to show up as the big man without the problems at all.
Okay.
And you mentioned an instance where you had buried a young child, and you felt very down because that happened. But you still have to show up, right? So I'm concerned. And Pastor, I'm also very, amazed at the knowledge that you have regarding what mental health is about.
Yes.
You just said something that you told your daughter that, you think you now know why people take to alcohol. It's coming from someone who has a sound knowledge of how the human mind works. Because we sit out there and we judge people, just judge them for what we are able to see about them.
Yeah.
We don't judge them based on what we are not able to see that goes on in their minds.
Right.
And so I'm very concerned, for people who we always expect every day to show up strong. And that also, of course, goes for, husbands, because you are a father,
everything.
Yeah, and leaders, because you will just come to workplace and assume everything is working, but we don't know the level of emotional rewiring, emotional processing that goes on in the minds of our leaders. Now, but Pastor, I'm going to say something because I was excited also when I heard you were coming, and I said, "Oh, Pastor, that's going to be amazing," because my first exposure to substance at the age of 11 years was in the church. It wasn't in school. Yeah, I had friends who were doing drugs, but I didn't indulge. But the first time I indulged was because someone in church, had, influenced me to
peer pressure.
Yeah. So, and that this peer was in church. So every time we talk about peer pressure, we think of school place, we think of workplace, we think of the house environment, but it was in church. Right. So, Pastor, do you think that our leaders, church leaders, mosque leaders, other religious leaders are well equipped with what addiction is about? Because like you said, the pastor is many things that he was not trained for.
That's right.
So the pastor is a doctor, he's the everything, apart from the fivefold ministries in the Bible, he is everything. The pastor may not even know how to manage finances, but he has to advise you financially.
Even when he's broke.
Even when he's broke. Right. So Pastor, what do you say? Do you think that our pastors, our imams, or other religious leaders are equipped with the right tool of what mental health is? Because addiction itself is a mental illness. I'm asking this question because you have shown understanding to how the mind of the human being works. So Pastor, what do you have to say about this?
Two things. The first thing is that, let me give an example. We have many, many years ago in our church, and church, as I said, is 38 years old. So many, many years ago, I had a department called PMC, Programs Management Committee. And later we changed it. Now, PMC had every church member who was a manager, a CB, CMD, AG, CEO, GM, anybody that was given oversight over people. So whenever we are doing our convention called Destiny, I'll say, okay, we're inviting Dr. Hope, he's the guest minister, and this is the theme. And you are managers. You run budgets. You manage people. I'm not wasting my time. Make this happen. And it was joyful. We also had the administrative task force in our church. All the members there were managers. I said, you know how to do budgets, you know how to do appraisals, you know how to employ people, you know how to give warning letters. This is not my area of strength. I am not going to do it. I have said in the past that there are certain invitations that if I have to preach, even if you put $1 million, I'm not going. It's not my area of strength. Why am I going to shout and scream on something that he's there? So the two answers are, let the Dr. Hopes in our church, in our churches, mosques, let them arise. One, let them be given the liberty to bring in their professional expertise. Because, look, I cannot deliver a baby. I need a gynecologist. I can't tell the woman I bind the devil and loose the baby to come out. We may have a bigger problem. He has trained for 7 years and maybe become a consultant, OBGYN. It's not hands that will do it. So let our churches recognize the professionals and let this issue come up to the forefront. The second, and the reason I'm saying this is the second answer. We all know, and I don't know about imams, but continent-wide and globally, there has been concern that most pastors' kids are either rebellious, they're on drugs. Why? Because there is pressure. Daddy has to perform, you have to perform, your wife has to be picture perfect. We have no problems, when we sneeze, God catches a cold. That's just not true.
You have to be perfect for me.
So, if we can teach or be taught on mental health, on its effects even on us as pastors and our homes, I think it will help us, because the issue is there. A pastor's son is on drugs, a pastor's daughter got pregnant, Yes, there is the demonic, but if you're a pastor, you know how your home works, you know the pressure. It takes a toll. Yeah. So I would say, yes, it's in. We must face it like the elephant in the room, but we need yourselves to come in and say, this is how it must be done. Pastor, you need a break now. You did not die for the church. Your name is not Jesus. Go on a vacation with your wives. 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you're having marital issues, Pastor, there's this group of counselors. They are well known. They are discreet. When you come back, Pastor, we'll all be happy.
Sorry to be a bit controversial now. You seem to be very okay with delegating what you feel is not your expertise.
Yeah.
But in our experience, there are certain religious leaders who tend to want to overstep that bounds. Recently, a popular doctor, a Aproko doctor, made a video calling out a religious leader, because what we get from religious leaders, some, let me be very clear, are certain advice that is against medical advice. And then it's, if you couch it by saying, this is what God told me, how then can, perhaps if a Dr. Hope is in your church and is seeing you say something like, mental health, what is mental health? And then you advise someone who is on a rehabilitation plan that you don't need that, come, I'll pray for you. How can he speak to you then? Because you are the authority there, and you've said that a bigger authority has spoken through you.
Now, I'm adding 3 things. Number one, yes, we stand in faith.
Yes.
But you have to remember that Luke was a physician. He wrote Luke, he wrote Acts. The Bible right there in Revelation talks about leaves for the healing of the nation. So it's not an either or. They go together. And secondly, if I were the Dr. Hope, I will shout.
In the church?
Oh, yes, because when the trouble hits the church and the media picks it, we are all in trouble, including Dr. Hope. So he should shout. He should shout. And maybe that's why we really also need the training. Because I pick a Bible and I'm shouting does not mean I am trained. I could be autodidactic. I could be self-trained. I could go to Udemy and learn Hebrew and Greek. But there is a school somewhere here, physically or online, that I can learn. Because people have put their lives in my hands. I have stood over church members. I remember a particular dear lady from West Africa in our church, very pretty, and all them guys were like, Pastor, this one. And I kept on shaking my head because she had a mastectomy. One breast was removed. Hence, guys were, Pastor, I think the Lord is still my life. I hope the Lord told you that now one she get to, because you are going to find that out, because we don't test before marriage in Christianity. When you find out that she only napad, she's putting, what are you going to say? Did not change his mind. And there are many things. There are people who cannot have children, yet they have to probably do IVF or adopt or do surrogacy. There are so many things. So why must we lose total sanity because we want to shut people like him and you down? No. So for me, no, I think let's stay in our lane. There are things, I did biochem, so I can talk about dopamine and but I'm no authority in it. I did it basically to pass an exam,
Pastor Forbes, in medical school, I think it was in my training level, I had a biochemistry lecturer, a professor, who said that even when demons are involved in causing a particular illness, somehow it shows in the molecular changes seen. So that means that even the devils, they also work molecularly.
So, okay, I don't know.
They're not
We cast them out.
So exactly. So if a devil inflicts maybe a particular illness on someone,
Yes.
perhaps you do some tests and you see, there are actually changes in the electrolyte,
Yes.
this and that, in this hormonal level.
Yes.
So that means that even God himself would change things molecularly. For instance, I've had people testify that their genotypes changed after prayers, right? And when they go back to do a recheck, they see that it has truly changed. Right? I'm not going to say that it's not true. It's their testimony, and it is correct by them. And so it means that God changes, because on Sundays in my own church, someone asked a question, a youth, can you pray through? Can you believe in God if you are AS and then you marry another AS? But my advice as a professional was, please pray through it, do a test, and be sure it has changed to AA before you.
I would just go straight and marry an AA. And I have personal example of this. My late wife was a sickler, and my daughter is an AS. So it's like, if you marry an AS, you have a 50% chance of a sickler in every pregnancy. Just by the AS.
Yeah, about 25%.
Yes, well, 25.
Yeah, about 25%.
SS 25.
Each pregnancy.
Yes.
And I think
and
I think the confusion is people think that it's when you have 4 children, you will have one. It is each pregnancy. Now, where does this link to addiction? I was explaining that having a sickle cell suffering child in the house is not the end of it. The truth is that it can cascade to having a child who suffers sickle cell at the same time now suffers a drug addiction, because they got to manage their painful crisis.
So they were taking methadone, cocaine, PF118, and they crossed the border.
Exactly. And
so you can't judge.
Exactly.
You're right.
So you see, there's always a link, to sickle cell and addiction, which is what I'm trying to explain here. Now, Pastor, are you saying, from what you have said, so
great point.
Yeah. Are you saying, Pastor, that we should advise our PFN in Nigeria, the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, right? PFN, and maybe the CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria, to include as part of development courses for pastors under their umbrella, mental health training programs? For instance, my organization, we do trainings for MDAs, DSS, EFCC, mentioned there. Now, is it possible for us to conceptualize mental health and psychosocial support training programs in our churches, in church departments, in the CAN organization, association, for members of those organizations? Is it something that you think we should invest in?
I was surprised that you don't have it. Number one, every fourth black person you meet on this earth is Nigeria. So you are all over the place. So I would think that should even be in Bible schools. Many years ago in our church, we decided to donate blood. So obviously people had to know what their blood group was. And we went into genotype and all that. And there are people who don't know. So somebody's pregnant and she needs blood. That's when they're trying to find out. So this should be normal. It's the 21st century. People should know their genotype, their phenotype. They should just so know many things. So it's like, okay, I'm blood O group, but are you positive? Are you negative? Do you know what that means? Can you give blood? Can you take blood? So, and because maybe the organizations you are calling, some of them, the leadership, like yourself, doctors there, I think they should push for it. But I think we should not firefight. We should know. I am managing pre-diabetes. So I am not on sugar. I do metformin. And I don't have it. Last night I bought at H Medics sachets of something called Revive. Because I'm a high voltage preacher. So yes, I rest, I eat well. My wife insists that I do vegetables. I say, eating more vegetables than a goat, And so people look at me, you look very good. I'm almost 62, but, it's all part of it. Because you're going to be shouting that, oh, okay, then I get revived by the blood of Jesus. You're joining. You go to an early grave. So I'm not hiding to take those things. I do my omega-3. I'm not hiding. I have my pedicure. I want to last long in this thing. Because if you go and you are not prepared, it's a whole cataclysmic trouble in the church.
That's true.
But meanwhile, she was there. And, I don't know about Africa, but some places in America, there was this tragedy that happened. Which year was this? I was in the States, and this pastor of a well-known church died in the W Hotel in New York, not far from where the Twin Towers fell. And when they got into his room, drugs. Yeah, drugs. He's all over. And he's not the only one. He's really not the only one. Even the high voltage preacher that wants to put ORS together and sucrose and Foster Clark powder and put Maltina and shake it and drink. It's the beginning of something. Yeah, because it's going to hyperactivate you, epinephrine and all that. And in a way, you're getting into that. And if it's helping you, where do we stop before you become addicted to it? And again, I am grateful for you people.
Yes. So just to tell you something that happens in Nigeria a lot. When you see someone who is very successful doing things that seem inhuman and impossible, you are inspired. You ask, how did you do this? And typically what I've seen across other places is, okay, this is what I did. I began this way, I took this step. But in Nigeria, you hear the common phrase, my God.
Grace.
Is grace. So, and I think that when you say you are not hiding, the steps you're taking to take care of yourself, it also helps people know that you didn't just go somewhere, pray, and then, you still gave that, what's it called, respect to science, so to speak. So I just want to quickly read some statistics from Gambia, so we can also get a clearer picture. We have for arrest demographics, according to the DLEAG in 2023.
D-League.
Yes. 74% of those arrested on drug-related charges are young people aged 18 to 35. Males account for 97% of these public arrests. For mental health crisis, 80% of all admissions to Tanka Psychiatric Hospital are linked directly to drug-related disorders and drug-induced psychosis. And just one more, the synthetic drug Kush, locally termed Ginabas.
Ginabas is our fastest lady on.
Indeed. Oh, I see. I didn't know that context.
Ginabas.
Yes. So it says by mid-2024, the Gambia Epidemiology and Disease Control Program recorded a devastating 9.7% case fatality from that drug. So I just want to relate this to what I've seen, because I've seen a number of your teachings. There was one in particular where you talked about how you should differentiate the pauses and the full stops in your life. Still, don't think it's over when it's not over. And also about building the total man, I think, as you call it. So when you hear about these statistics, what comes to mind that the people you're trying to build, the demographics you're trying to build, are being ravaged by this pandemic, some might call it?
Yes, we do have a problem back home. And added to that, we have what's called the backway phenomenon, where droves of young people are taking this rubber dinghies to go to Spain. And as they are dying, others are going on. Sadly, we have young people saying that they prefer to die on the water than to die in their own country. I look at it from two angles primarily. The frustration of the youth for not having jobs or job opportunities and the wherewithal to do something. Let me take you back a little bit, and this is my personal opinion. When we voted in 2016 and voted Yahya Jammeh out, our president, who, we had a military coup in 94, then 96 he became a civilian and ruled with an iron fist for 22 years. 20, people disappeared. It was really a bad time. All of us were under surveillance. I used to have 11 phone numbers. Yeah, just my own way of beating the system. I knew my house was under surveillance, my church was under surveillance.
Why?
So we voted, well, he just wanted to Hitlerize the country, and he succeeded in many respects. So if you had a voice of dissent or you had a constituency like I did then, so most times I was told that I was supposed to be arrested and things like that. But I was smart, I was wise. Again, if the government did well, as I commended him last night on my TV program, because I started my TV through him. I'm not going to say because he did that. I keep the balance, and maybe that's the grace. The people know, but you got to keep the balance, because the same Bible says, "Be wise as serpents and innocent as doves." So we had voted Yahya Jammeh. The whole world clapped for Gambia. We were tweeting number 2, then Donald Trump was tweeting 1, his first term. Everybody who mattered came to the country. Boris Johnson, all kinds of people came, Prince Charles, because you mean this small country of 2.8 million, they have outvoted a dictator with the power of incumbency and everything. So everybody was on a high. Gambians who had left the country came back. Families that were in the States came back. And everybody looked up to what was going to happen. It's been 10 years since we are not where we really expected it to be. Yes, things have happened. Disappearing, being killed, but the young people are really not happy. So, and especially when maybe they are trying something and they are seeing their friend who became a customs officer last month, and in 4 months he's built a 4-story building. There's no customs salary in Africa that can make that happen. And so the frustration, some have demonstrated. We have time-to-time demonstrations going on. So there is that the government should either come on board and help them with seed money to do things. There's also the part of the parents. And it's a very convoluted thing because children are dying. There was a time we had the highest number of unaccompanied minors going on the back way without their parents. It was just like, if they make it to Europe, they'll work, they'll get money, and a lot of them were dying. So what happens is that the parents will sell their cows, sell cattle, sell land, and raise enough money that, unfortunately, these same children can use to start a business in the country. But they just don't want to do anything. And then came Kush. And I hear ours is not as bad as what they have in Sierra Leone. But we are bad enough. And it's a problem. And it's hit everybody.
So it's like an escape from everything you've pointed out.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do. And sadly, it's not working. We do some trainings, we've helped some people, but it's happening faster than we can help. Sometimes I feel you also can tell the young people that, look, other people are trying to do it here, but they're at a point where they can't wait. And the phrase you hear them say is that they would rather die in the water than die at home.
Pastor, talking about Kush, Sierra Leone, as you mentioned, that's having probably a worse case than the Gambia, had declared a national public health emergency. They did. And you have just confirmed too that even though it's not as worse as what we have in Sierra Leone, we've had enough in Gambia. Do you think that the Gambia should consider declaring
should have a long time ago? Just as I said about the churches, we should not firefight. We have a place in our country many, many years ago. It's a dump site. It's about the largest dump site in the cosmopolitan area. It was right opposite SOS Children's Village. And many years ago, I used to preach that, guys, this thing is, we are going to find children with emphysema, with all kinds of respiratory problems. And you would say, why are you waiting? And then the demographics started showing. And then build high walls and do this, get incinerators. Sometimes it's too late. So I don't think we should just wait for maybe United Nations statistics that when 7,000 children have died, then we can call it a public. No, each child is important. She's not a statistic. So we should do preventative measures and go use the TV, use the villages, use the village head, use the churches, to everything. I mean, we've opened our church many times to different things. And because I believe in a holistic person, and therefore I preach holistically. So many years gone back, we used to have something called, what was it called now? Once every quarter, we had a talk. You've forgotten the name now. And we've had even how to prepare ORS. We've had urological issues. People just come in and they sit on the altar and they talk. And we learn banking and finance, loans, and all that. And
investment opportunities.
Yeah, and anything, career guidance and counseling. We've done things like that. And it's amazing what you learn. Because you can't just tell people the Bible says, God told me. And, the person dies.
Pastor, talking about the whole man, which is a core of your message, I want to take a cue from the scripture, for instance. It says, we should offer our bodies as living sacrifices. Now, I feel that if you don't take care of your body, it may not be a living sacrifice. Even the God we want to serve wants sacrifice that are alive, sacrifice that are healthy and strong. And so I'm happy to hear that, you take care of your body, you mind your dieting, you take care of your health, just so that you are living. Because living is not just a situation of death, but even when you are ill in your body, incapacitated illnesses, maybe due to wrong choices that people make or no access to information that could lead to all of these things. So what do you have to say? I mean, do you think that's correct? That we should offer bodies? What is the value of the sacrifice you are offering? I keep asking, because if you wait to serve God when, you are very sick, or now you are serving God, but you want to be sick without taking advantage of information, of science, what sacrifice are you offering?
I agree with you. I've preached many times and told my people, no matter how great your vision is, if your body can't carry the vision, that's just that you can't do it. So I want to pick on what you said about information. I may be wrong, and if I am, please forgive me. I think the West African diet, particularly the Nigerian diet, is high on carbohydrates. And they swallow.
You don't need any forgiveness.
Yeah. And so that does not help us. But now what we could do, man must work, man must chop, but this thing is not helping you, and it's going to show up later. So I'm throwing it back to you, sir. If I had my way, people have to be taught. The West, they know that the plate, your lunch plate, your dinner plate must be colorful. Green, purple. So purple cabbage, green, tomatoes, red. We is just like, and it's going to affect us. So I would say churches, mosques, everybody, these people went to study nutrition and dietetics. It's not a joke. And when you have a problem and you go to the hospital, when you are done, after some time, a dietitian comes to see you.
Yes.
A muscle comes to see you. And then mental health muscle comes to see you. And somebody starts telling you, look here, touch your nose and count 99. And it's not a joke. They train. And from there, they can diagnose that this is wrong with you. Sir, you are not sleeping enough. So you have sleep deprivation. It's affecting the choices you make. Sir, have you noticed you shouted at your wife? You've never shouted at your wife before. Because you are dealing with things, but I'm the man of God. So I can't tell anybody. And you wake up one day and the man of God dies. And then we now take it on another level. Oh, well, it was his time. Life is not about length. It's about, no, stop that nonsense. Stop that. That guy was not living healthy. One thing I like about the whites, when I used to preach a lot in the UK, almost I think every quarter, they will send their pastors on vacation. I said, these pastors I enjoyed more. And then until I look back at my life, and I've been here for like a week. I've postponed my classes. So I arrive tomorrow at 12, at 4, I'm lecturing. I do so many things. But whenever I stop doing it, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I have a life.
Yeah.
And I think that should happen because even with pastors, a lot of our Western colleagues live till 80s, 90s.
That's true.
Or them Higgins or robots, they went that far, Some of us, the main ones we know, I mean, Papa Edawusa, I think, went at 59 or 55 or so. And we were all shocked. But, he had a grueling schedule. And the body will be shouting that, I'm warning you, I'm warning you, I'm warning you. And then the thing shuts down. And then you end up. In 2021, I think it was, I was at home one day and I just slumped. And they rushed me to the hospital and they said I had COVID. But most importantly, my blood sugar. I know they have the American figures and the European. So the European figures, I think the basic is about 5.10. I was 23. In fact, the man told my wife, how has this man been standing? Since then, till today, my wife read me the riot act. And, I'm managing it. So I fly with my maple leaf syrup. I'm taking my metformin. I am watching, as I said, I eat more salad than any goat. My wife insists that we have to do it. And I'm seeing the benefits. I would have told her that you are not a woman of God. This is the anointing. And they'll bury me.
Yes, I'll definitely be reducing my swallow intake. Please.
Doc.
Yeah, so that it can be a living sacrifice.
Yeah, you don't want a dead sacrifice.
God doesn't want it.
There's no value.
All right.
And like my co-host said, you are the right guest to discuss spirituality and drug addiction, called mental health. In Nigeria, for example, we have some leading pastors, even own rehabilitation centers within Christian churches. So, they have this Kadam, I think, in Lagos. We've also had pastors do referrals to rehab centers, and ensure that people get the care they require.
Wow, praise God.
Yes, but we must understand the blend, between spirituality and even all health conditions. I tell people that if you take your medications, it doesn't stop God from healing you.
Yeah.
Taking the medication does not prevent the hand of God from healing you today. And so before you stop any medications you are prescribed to use for a particular illness, ensure that there are laboratory investigations confirming that you do not need them anymore.
Yeah.
But as per God can heal, yes, he heals. And I'm a doctor who believes in the healing power of God. I am a witness to that. Right. Now, in medicine, every illness have their treatment modality.
Yeah.
And so far, it's beginning to evolve to include spirituality, even in treatment. And I say that the field in medicine that benefits from that spirituality modality is mental health.
Wow.
So even in mental health, spirituality is key. And in definition of health, it is not just about the absence of physical illness, but emotional well-being and even spiritual well-being.
Awesome.
So I'm not going to bore people with the other component, but it's a spiritual well-being in definition of health.
Yes.
Now, and mental health on its own, like I said, enjoys more benefit from spirituality. For instance, in treatment of addiction, we have a spiritual-based program for treatment. So people who say, let's just pray for him or let's just pray for her. I tell them, you can pray for her while she's in treatment.
Yes.
When Jesus was passing and the man came and said, my daughter is sick, just said, okay, I'm going to come and heal her. He said, no, speak. I'm a man of the authority. So the man believes that if Jesus speak here, there's no distance in the spirit. It's going to take effect wherever the person is. I've had parents withdraw their children from rehab and put them at home to be undergoing special spiritual prayers.
Yeah.
Right. So we must understand that there is a role, there's a place for spirituality in treatment of even other non-mental illnesses. So that doesn't take away the role for science. It is
so it's not either or.
It's not, yes. So that doesn't take. So I think that's the blend that's the balance I want to bring in. That, you know what? Even when you have hypertension, You're praying alone and believing that God can heal you is enough to help your hormones, manage your stress level that could lead to heightened blood pressure levels.
But at the same time, you are not over-exerting yourself
exactly
to prove a point.
Exactly. Because you can even be taking the medications and the BPs, the blood pressures are not controlled. Right? And I tell people again, taking the drug in itself, it takes faith to take medications.
Right.
There are people who even drink water and the water chokes them. They choke on their water. So you may want to take a medication and it goes the wrong way. So it takes faith to take the medication. So let's exercise faith. So faith is part of treatment, right? But do not leave one for the other.
And then so now I think we've established that there is a role, and some people even argue that religion itself can be an addiction, but that's a different topic.
It's called Marx.
Yeah.
Religion is the opium of the mass.
For the mass, exactly.
But away from that now, let's talk about the church being a healing space. Yeah, why the church provides community, provides peace, and all of that. There's also a possible little danger there, which is the issue of judgment and stigma. And I want to know, how do we handle that? Because sometimes, and perhaps people who are not as informed, they've taken deliverances, prayers, those sort of interventions when they hear about substance abuse issues. So how do we deal with the issue of judgment? Because I think naturally, if a scenario, a situation is structured in a way that is telling you how to live a good life, when you see someone who is seemingly not living that good life, who is just suffering a disease, as those have explained, you might feel the need to say, this person, this unclean human. So how do you tackle that? A place that should be a safe space for people so that they can get that, at least start the journey to rehabilitation, being a place that is hindering them.
Okay. Well, that's a loaded question. So let me just answer as I can. Number one is that for good and for bad, the African cultural society helps and harms, in the sense that, sadly, anything the African society cannot empirically understand becomes esoteric, and unfortunately becomes negatively esoteric. For example, as we all know, if you are staying in your house in some area and in the night a lizard runs across, and it's like your enemy just passed.
They are monitoring you.
Maybe there is a lizard colony somewhere,
There's a crack in your wall.
It could be a coincidence.
Yeah, or your 85-year-old grandma in America, she has no teeth. Oh, grandma is so sweet, grandma. Oh, grandma. In Africa, now which? Simply because she has no teeth. So we have this, and we are probably losing the blessings of these kinds of people. So the church, I believe, must actively and proactively reinforce that community is not for the strong versus the weak.
Yeah.
I want to say this guardedly. I have three, but I'm my senior assistant pastor, my executive pastor, and I have two people who are in training. And our church knows that if I were to transition today, my executive pastor takes over. He's a stammerer. So I tease him and I call him a truck, because when he starts preaching, sometimes it's a bit painful because he stammers. But if you wait through maybe 5-7 minutes, when the truck starts moving, you should be happy. Now my question is, how many Pentecostal, charismatic pastors and churches that are large enough put this stammerer on them? It doesn't fit the brand. Who told you? Moses was one. So the judgmental attitude is wrong. Also, life is in stages. She was brought up nicely at home. What do you call them here? Ajebota. And one trip to the mall, she got pregnant because she was so protected at home, went in daddy's car and daddy's 4 dogs, and now it thrown over her. But one day she experimented without knowledge. Unfortunately, she was ovulated. How? Is that a bad girl? She's really a bad girl. Where are you going to place the blame? All right. She got this child in Form 3. JS just 3. Now she is a commissioner. Whenever people call her name, what do they say? That girl will get belay dance. They always go back. As if that guy that went to prison. As if people don't grow. You yourself that is talking. What have you done? So the stigmatization, the judgment is wrong because sometimes people are in phase.
Sorry, just to continue. I just want to read a mindset of someone, and perhaps they could respond to this. This person was responding to a video of a person who is recovering from substance abuse and was showing off the harm it had caused them. He says, people will watch video like this, their parents will train them, church will beg them, mosque will admonish them, MDLEA will beg them, the society at large will beg them. Still, yet, a drug addict gets no sympathy for me. We all know what we are doing.
Ouch. Well, I can't comment on that. I can't comment. Look,
because this is the stigma we're talking about.
Look, somebody once said, until they put $1 million on your office table, don't say you are a righteous man. Money or the body you can't steal. It's like politics. Everybody in opposition knows the problem until they sit down on a chair. But those chairs, there are things there. You sit down and somebody said, we want to do business. They come from Asia, want to do business. And this is just, just for you, son. They open the thing, it's 3 million. You know that 3 million has answered a lot of prayers you have been praying with your wife. At that point, we will know whether you will take it, declare it, or not. And so for this person, I feel sorry for such a person. You cannot judge. So what will such a person say when this person turns around? What will such a person?
So interestingly enough, the person was referring to someone who is even recovering, who is doing the right thing. So this,
he is a doctor. I was going to make a mention of something he said about how the molecules and all that. Science has shown us that fasting can do many things. It's all psychosomatic. So this person that's recovering, there are certain things that will help. When you are building a story building, when they were building this thing, did they just build it like that? No, they put scaffolding. And the scaffolding helped to prop the building. When the building was standing, what happened? The scaffolding left. So let this person's scaffolding still be there. And all these different people, let us all help the way we can. Let me pray. Let him administer the drug. Let the family have somebody chaperone him or her somewhere. There is smokers chewing gum. There is this beer in Holland that Eco Bavaria, non-alcoholic beer, like Shandy. It has everything, the froth and everything. But it's not, wheel the people around. You don't burn your pickle and give them tea and swallow.
Indeed.
Water, you dip water in the Bible, So I will not want to. It's a hard conversation.
I think what you said is enough.
Also, I think that for that person who made that comment, I would excuse the person for this reason. Maybe he lacks the education on what addiction is. Because again, one of the answers I keep giving to how to prevent stigma is the proper education. People do not have the knowledge of what addiction is. Now, the next thing maybe, they never felt that way, or they were never in those shoes, right? Now, but what is it, sir? Addiction, for most people, they think that is a moral failure. And that is why they would judge the person for using those drugs. addiction for most people also is that, the parents didn't train this person properly. Just the example you gave. This child was guarded, but for one time she left without those protections. Yeah. Would you now call her a bad child? Would you say the parents did not do enough? Now, for me, that my mom would even come to my school and pay surprises and do everything. She didn't know when I started indulging. Yeah. Now, so not all drug abuse too, is addiction. There are people who use substances even recreationally. Now, which many individuals are indulging. But the thing is, only about 10 to 15% of people who ever use a substance would be addicted to the substance. Now, so these people were not told that they will be on the 10 to 15% that will be addicted. They are not aware of their genetic makeup, their biological makeup. And so unfortunately, they use this substance and suddenly they are no longer able to be in control of that drug use behavior. Yeah. Now, so the person wakes up, he has a feeling, an urge to use. Ordinarily, he would say, no, I'm not using today. But on that day, when it becomes addiction, he no longer can take that decision. He has to use because the drug says, use me. Now, a time comes when he is craving for the feeling he used to have, and he takes the same dose, and it's not working, it's not giving the same pleasure. Now, so he uses more tolerance level. He uses more than he is meant to use. Now, a point comes when he doesn't want to even use, but there's a compulsion. Yeah. As if someone is behind you, pushing you over an edge. You don't want to go over the edge, but someone is behind you and is bigger than you. That person is addiction. Now, the people must understand that there is a bigger person behind the person who is suffering. Right. And that bigger person is called addiction. So the person is aware of the consequences. He knows that if I go over this edge, like the person he's referring to, my skin are going to be decaying. At some point, this testifier said that he was injecting his bones. There was no more flesh on his hand. He was injecting his bones with the particular drug of abuse. Now, do you think that that person was in his right senses? There was something beyond him. Also, even in treatment, where the strategy also comes in is, this addiction is beyond you. Agree. Take responsibility first of all, but also agree that it's beyond you. Then you need a superpower, right. A supreme being, which is God. That's where we begin to connect them with the spirituality component of treatment. And then, of course, repent, forgive yourself, and then reconcile with the spiritual being, pray, and all of that. So it's a stages. Right. So when you see someone suffering addiction, it's not something he wants to keep doing. However, sometimes, as a way of coping, suppression, people suppress their emotions, people rationalize their behavior that they do not have control over, as a way of coping with the mental, psychological, and social consequence of their behavior. If, for instance, I know that if I dress in this particular way, society don't like it, but this is the only clothes I have. This is all I can afford. I'm going to make you feel like, this is a new styling. Not because I think it is proper, but because it's all I have. Now, to cope with your backlashes, I will tell you, while I was in UK last year, someone wore this style. Now, it doesn't mean that rationalizing it is that I am willingly doing it. But this is the mistake. This is disjoint. Families, friends, society demonizes them. And especially, again, talking about women, they suffer double, culturally, socially, and all what have you. As if to say, women are not human beings that have hormones that respond to these things, that have urges and suffer the same thing. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, for instance, you probably have 1 in 7 women who use drug in treatment. If you have 7 people in treatment, maybe 1 is a woman. So what happened to the other 1 in 4? Because statistics is 1 in 3 and 1 in 4 in some places of women that use drugs. So if you have 3 people using drug, 1 is a woman. But you have only 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 in treatment. So you see, there's a treatment gap for women. Now, these are the same women we double demonize and stigmatize them. I'm sure we'll have worse comment if that was a woman who testified.
Indeed. Yes. So you've actually taken us to the next part of the conversation, which is how do we handle the female issue here? Because when I read out the statistics earlier, it was men, 97% of men being arrested. But globally, I think those opens hinted at it, and then 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 thereabouts. So do you think there's a way we could target that demographic? Because one thing I would say, this is anecdotal information, not based on any statistics, but personally, I feel as though the worship houses, particularly Christianity, are mostly filled with women. So if a bulk of them are there, and this problem is affecting them in this way, but yet the statistics only focus on males. How do you think we can capture that audience and not let them slip aside?
I think the first thing we should try and do is to create a sensitization, because even if we don't yet have the statistics, just the facts of sex trafficking in all those things, which are largely female, and they involve all kinds of things. Drink this drug so you can sleep with 5 men, you can slide down a pole, you can do all those things, like largely objectifying a woman and really debasing her and bringing her from there into normalcy is a journey. So whether we have it in the religious houses or not, I think an alarm should be there. Because how else are you going to get a woman to come on your side? You are going to have to trick her, you're going to date, rape, drugs and drinks, all these things that they do. And they are not just Western things. They're happening here, I remember one sad incident that happened when I was here in Nsukka. I studied here, for those who don't know, from 83 to 88. We had this case of 5 or 7 guys that raped a girl. I mean, she was like a socialite, but and the whole campus went berserk, and apparently maybe the parents had money and blah, blah, blah. But so this is something that happens. And I think the churches, we have to talk about it. We have to raise an alarm. I am just, and forgive me if I sound repetitive, I don't think we should wait until the train has left the station to catch it. I think we should talk about this thing. So young girls are starting puberty. I mean, I have 3 biological sisters, and they all tell me that, when they were growing up, when they started their period, my elder sister said, my auntie came to her and told her, okay, now you're a woman. If a man touches you, pin, she said, pin, you'll get pregnant. Like, what does that mean?
That's wrong messaging.
How does that mean? And she had no idea what to do. They have no idea. They don't know how long they should keep a sanitary towel up for. So I just think that we have this fantastic community in church, maybe also in the mosque, large numbers of people that come regularly and listen with belief. I think we should use that to train and develop, and then to co-opt the gender ministries, UNIFEM, and all those things, and really talk. I used to help with AIDS, and they have this thing they call 16 Days of Activism, and I helped with the former First Lady. And, we had this thing that was like an argument, because it was ABC. Abstinence, being faithful, use a condom. So I used to tell them, okay, I will help you with A and B. C, I'm not distracted. Pastor, we have to do something. I said, yeah, I know you have to, but, I cannot tell you what I can tell you, A and B. But do I know that C exists? Yes. When there are national youth conferences, I know of a place where they had a national youth conference, and the first night, UNAIDS and UNFPA sent like 10,000 condoms for the whole time. It finished in one night. Yeah, true. I mean, so are you just going to say, thou shalt not, thou shalt not? If you do, I go kill you. God doesn't.
Typically, condom is for harm reduction.
Well, so we have to really be very pragmatic, be God-fearing too, but be able to handle so many things. We've not even scratched on peer pressure, like this person taking this thing. Boarding schools. Children go abroad. Train it. Just everybody's going to the club on Saturday, you're not the only one. They call you a name. You are a prude. You are this. After some time, you go, and then you try, and then you just have no point of reference. So you sniff, and the rest is perfect.
All right. So for sake of time now, we're rounding up. So I just have 2 questions. One is just out of curiosity. I just want to know how you could approach that, which is, you can answer this one last if you feel so. Now that we've agreed, or we've agreed that there's a space for a religious aspect and coping or treating or going beyond addiction, what happens to someone who fundamentally does not believe in anything? Is the process still enough to cater for them? Or do they now have to find a belief where they couldn't even before they had the problem? That's one. And the second is, if someone is watching right now, they've, like Dr. Hope and I would say, there's a tunnel, and someone is in a tunnel. They are in there now in the grasp of addiction, and they are seeking a way out. What would you say to them?
I think to both groups, I'll use a simple word that's a game-changing word. 4-letter word, LOV. To those people, I want to just say we love you. You're special. You're unique. As you know, your fingerprints are different from anybody in the world. We want to see the real you show up. Anytime you kill a caterpillar, you've killed a butterfly. You've just killed a butterfly at an earlier stage. If you left it, I've forgotten my biology, but pupa, larva, imago, something, you just see this beautiful thing come. But that beautiful thing, and so to the person in the tunnel, find psychosocial help, families come on board, look for people like Dr. Hope. I'm sure there are helplines here. There's nothing to be ashamed of. If the person is within a religious setting, I hope there are counseling systems that are trusted and have almost like an NDA, non-disclosure, because tomorrow it could be your child. And to the person who doesn't believe anything at all, it's the same thing, love. I don't think anybody will hate love.
Love transcends.
Oh, yeah, I just, if I'm going through a bad day and you call me and you just hold me and say, it'll be okay. It changes. And maybe somewhere after it will be okay, you want to follow me to where I get this, it will be okay from. And hopefully it's not a judgmental place. It's a place where people are accepted. And look, and I'm going to say this, and I hope I'm not offensive. A lady is a sex worker. So my church, we go on evangelism. We dress, look, and we talk to her, and then we get her out of it, and then we bring her to Bible study. When she's looking, she has no clue what is happening. In that role there, half of the ladies are, pretty nice. She's talking a little bit with one man who happens to be somebody's husband. Somebody goes to her, Rebecca, make we go out. All that. And because, you cannot handle that. She stay in your house. No. So she doesn't feel loved and unloved. She leaves and she goes back to the club. When the door opens, Susie, and are you there? Give me 5. What is that? Love and acceptance.
Yeah.
She will stay there. So I must not love somebody because I have an agenda. I must love them because they are a person. And within my own setting, church setting, I think that must be shown. I don't think Jesus is for the strong versus the weak, the able versus the able, the city person versus the person in Tanka, the Abiokota hospital. It's everybody. And maybe I should end by saying the Bible says, let he that thinks he stands.
Take heed.
Take heed, lest he fall, because the judgment you give other people, when it hits you, you'll be crying for love. So I think we as pastors and everybody, we should just be less judgmental. We must open our hearts and we must portray humanity to people. I'm not afraid to say, yes, I was hit with COVID. I didn't think that would ever happen to me. I still believe in faith. I'm preaching it. I take medical. I'm preaching because they are not. It's not either or.
Yeah.
They're the same. I need him. He needs me. And that's the way we go. So that's really what I want to say.
I'm so moved that I always want to ask if your church does streaming, because
we still ourselves.
The message of love is something that always touches me, and the fact that it transcends anybody's dimension or wherever group they belong to.
Let me tell you this story, and I don't want to take more time. In one of my trainings, a very highly placed woman in my country came for training, and she came private because she's big. And she came one day and just sat down and broke down into tears. I said, what happened? She's finished. She's leaving this country. She's given up. I said, I switched my PowerPoints off. We can't be doing class today. And we spoke. I started cracking jokes. She laughed and all that. I went up and I told my wife the story. While my wife and I were talking, she called and I put it on speaker. She said, Pastor, I just told my sister that Pastor Forbes is safe space. I told her, thank you. Because a time will come when I also need this thing. Bishop T.D. Jakes told us a story. He said when he became great, the thing was just there. It's like a drug. T.D. Jakes. He said he just got so overwhelmed. One day he went home and he just longed into tears. He told the story. He said he cried. The thing was just too much for him. Then he called the spiritual father. The man picked the phone and said, hello. He said the man was quiet. After some time, the man told him, so it got to you. I knew this was going to happen. When I started going viral and things like that, it was a bit too much because you've not walked this way before. I don't want stardom. I just want to serve God. But this thing becomes so much to you. And if you follow it, you will change your shoe, you will change your phone number, you will put 17 dogs at your gate, you will do that, you have to be picture perfect. And you are not. You are not. Everybody has good and bad days. And so let's be honest enough. Today, I don't think sometimes I tell my pastors, preach for me today. I don't think I'm there. And it's good for me to be able to say that. Then come and I can do the lingo. What if I project my fears spiritually into them without them knowing? So I need to come and say, look, you know what? I'm having a rough day. And then the husband can say, so pastor is having a rough day. Then he's normal. But if I tell them that all is well, I will crash, they will crash. And Jesus didn't do that.
Thank you so much, Pastor Forbes. It's been really enlightening hearing about the church's role. And I do hope that, I think this message is not just for people, it's also for fellow religious leaders to adopt a safe space for persons who have substance abuse issues. No judgments, just love. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Pastor Forbes.
All right.
Thank
you, sir. All right, so that's our round up this episode of Beyond Addiction. Do join us once again. I will talk about the role of faith in the section of tackling addiction and going beyond addiction. See you next time. Until we meet again, like, share, subscribe. Bye for now.